Welcome to linear inequalities. Again, this is just a quick down and dirty review. Graphing bivariate inequalities, which way do I shade? A linear inequality is with the values of x and y, and these are the different ways it can be written. And it has two variables, though sometimes, and we'll see it in just a second, there is only one. And the line divides the coordinate plane into two half planes. The solution is a half plane. It continues on to infinity and beyond, kind of like Buzz Lightyear. Okay, graph the corresponding equation. Now, it says in slope-intercept form, and honestly, that's my personal opinion as well. It's easiest done with slope-intercept form. You use a dashed line for inequalities with greater than or equal to show what are not solutions. This is called an open half plane. A solid line shows that the line is part of the solution set, and that is a closed half plane. I would like you to go ahead and do a card about graphing linear inequalities, making sure that you make examples on the back of an open half plane and a closed half plane. All right, test points. We're going to talk about test points, about above and below. So let's go ahead and get started. This one is y is greater than 4. And so what Mrs. Rose does is she takes her pen and she goes 1, 2, 3, 4. She remembers that this is an open half plane because it is just greater than. So she takes her line and make sure that it is dashed or dotted. It's an open half plane. Now, as far as the test points, what Mrs. Rose likes to do is she likes to use the big old fat finger of fate. She takes the finger of fate and she puts it on the y-intercept. And then she says, this tells me to go greater than 4. On the y-intercept, where is this, the values greater than 4? They're greater than 4 up here. So that is the half plane that Mrs. Rose will shade. Now, please remember, she is on the smart board. So really and truly, your whole plane should be shaded, but Mrs. Rose is not going to be able to get the whole plane shaded and stay within the boundaries of time. Okay? Let's try again. All right. Notice when we said about two different values, in this case, you're only going to see the one. You're going to see the x. Hopefully you remember that x equals a number is a, that's right, vertical line. So x is -2, x is -2. Again, since this is less than, Mrs. Rose will use the dashed line. She goes ahead and connects the points as a dashed line. And then she gets her great big fat finger of fate. And she says on the x-axis this time, where are the values that are less than -2? Oh, yes, here they are. So that is the half plane on which I will shade. And again, remember that Mrs. Rose's shading, for time's sake, is just going to be in a patterned format. Really and truly, if I had a pencil, I would go ahead and shade all of that in. All right, so sketch the graph of the inequality. Oh, wait, not so fast, Mrs. Rose. This is not in slope-intercept form. So let's go ahead and quickly put this into slope-intercept. Be careful when you bring this value down. It is the opposite of y. Oh, Mrs. Rose, multiplication property of -1. This becomes y, not greater anymore, less than positive 3x -5. So Mrs. Rose goes to the intercept of -5. Then she uses the slope of 3, which in a graph would be rise of 3, run of 1. Rise of 3, run of 1. Rise of 3, run of 1. Boy, say that enough and you just can't talk, can you? So you go ahead and dash. Okay? And then again, if you use the great big fat finger of fate, the values that are less than -5 are not above this line, but are where? Yes, directly below. So Mrs. Rose would take her shader. Whoops, there we go. and kind of shade in this section. Again, another quick one. Again, another one that is not written. So let's add x to both sides. We get the opposite of y is less than or equal to x plus 3. Oh no, Mrs. Rose. That's right. Y is greater than or equal to the opposite of x minus 3. Now let's remember when it says the opposite of x, that really is negative 1 divided by 1, which is a slope of negative 1. So Mrs. Rose starts at negative 3, and she goes rise of negative 1, 1. And actually, this is kind of going ahead and giving it its own little dashed line, isn't it? Now, I'm sure you're asking, Mrs. Rose, just how many points do I have to do? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I typically, for a line, 1, 2 points make a line. But I would like you to have at least, for a linear, a minimum of 3. And the reason why I say a minimum of 3 is because that way you can guarantee you're right. Okay, greater than or equal to? What's wrong with Mrs. Rose's line? It's dashed. What should it be? It should be solid. Okay, that is a fatal mistake. Make sure that you catch yourself. If there is a line for the equal to, it must be solid. All right, we're going greater, where our value is greater than negative 3. Up here, Miss Rose. So let's go ahead and help the fat finger of fate. Let's make it blue this time. Let's go ahead and shade this half plane. Number 9, let's go ahead and graph this one. Oh, Mrs. Rose, there's no y-intercept right here. Well, that's because it's direct variation, guys. What should it be going through? That's right, the origin. All right, what kind of line? Don't make the same mistake, Mrs. Rose. That's right, solid line. Fat finger of fate. Go up, there we go. And highlight the half plane. Hope that was an easy review for you. Sylvester the cat says bye-bye, but Mrs. Rose says toodles. If it wasn't easy for you, please go to mathwarehouse.com and follow the directions for this web link. Have a great day. See you tomorrow.